Absolutely.
No, these are not coalition.
Last year the story was different. Last year the government was saying we actually missed our targets because of all these scandals, and there was pressure, there was corruption scandals, there was a global turndown. Last year they had that.
Nothing global about turning down POSCO, Ken, Vedanta. It is all domestic decisions.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what the economic survey has indicated quite clearly, that the origins of the predicament we are in is a domestic one, not a foreign instrument.
And today we are looking at industrial growth at around 4 and 5%. That's the average. And infrastructure, when did you last hear about a good power project coming up?
Navika, look at the extraordinary blip you saw in the manufacturing statistics. What was the growth due to? Marble tiles, tobacco, and newspapers. That's really what it was based on.
92% growth in food beverages.
There's a small point I want to add here. Whoever in the world said that doing good power, for example, was not an Aam Aadmi project, do your power generation well, that's a very good Aam Aadmi project. And here I would want to say that the Coal India, Jharkhand as a state, and Shibu Soren as an ally, all were with the Congress party. So where was the political will missing? The entire solution lay with the coal sector.
From our studios in Mumbai, Nimish Shah is Managing Director of Fortune Financial Services. What will the markets be looking at, Nimish? Good morning.
Well, markets, Arnab, are looking at so many things. Let me tell you what the markets don't want. I think that will be putting it in the right perspective. Markets do not want any kind of fiscal imprudence, fiscal profligacy. Like if you remember the 2008 budget, which had a waiver of farm loans. Markets do not want that. Markets do not want inconsistency in policy making. 1 year you'll have a dividend tax. Next year you'll have an abolition of dividend tax. You have the FDI in retail coming, then you have the rollback. You have so many things, policies which are inconsistent, which are announced and only rolled back subsequently. Markets certainly do not want that. What markets want is prudence in fiscal expenditure, fiscal deficit at a controllable level. This is what the markets really want, and an environment which is conducive to growth. Growth is the only mantra. If you analyze 2005 to 2010, average growth was 8.6%, and that led to the fall in poverty rates. There's a World Bank report which says 67 million people came out of the poverty line just because of that 8.6% growth.
Yeah, so markets don't want these big bang populist measures. They don't want a farm loan waiver. They don't want anything like that. That's the big story. Nimish, I'm going to come back to you in just some time. Also joining us, partner of Kingston Smith in London, Tim Stovall is joining us. Tim, good morning. What would you like to see in the budget that you think will be very effective?
Come on, man. 3 o'clock in the morning. It's 3 o'clock in the morning.
India has always been a lot of similarities to the UK, and the UK is thriving on its entrepreneurship. And I think India is experiencing the same, that entrepreneurship brings innovation. What big business is very good at doing is the same thing again and again and making the keenest profit margin. But where we find that big business reaches maturity, it's the entrepreneurs who are coming up behind them who are innovating into new areas, and the IT sector who are looking at cloud computing, in healthcare are looking at new and experimental drugs, and really keeping the bigger business on its toes and providing a liquidity in the business market. If that entrepreneurship goes and the market starts to stagnate, I think the economy will suffer, although the suffering will come some years down the line.
So here's the challenge, and we're laying out Tim, I'm going to come back to you. The challenge is our economy slowed to 6.1 in the third quarter of this financial year. Are we reading the signals? I'm sorry to be harping on this, but will the UPA be able to meet the cost of all these vast programs that it has already committed to? I don't think it's going to be that easy to pull back now, frankly. I think some of you think that it'll be, it's not going to, politically speaking, I think you bear me out. Once you commit, and I think the NSE has proved itself to be fairly significantly, it has the clout over 10 Janpath. So strong.
No, it's the other way around. I think the NSE epitomizes a certain, Lady Bountiful attitude of 10 Janpath.
Yeah. So then,
the NSE has been handpicked. No, Rajiv Kumar could have been in the NSE. You know, Jagdish Bhagwati could have been in the NSE. That could be, that would be a different NSE. So you choose the NSE and you get the results.
But Papan, it's the same government which told the NGOs to go away in Kodam-Kulam, so they can tell the NSE, which is also an NGO, to go away.
No, but that you must keep in mind is something to do with nuclear power plants. And nuclear is a buzzword for this government. In that sense, when it comes to a choice between NGOs and nuke, it's
Between the NGOs and the NGOs.
No, yes, let me put it this way. Here's Manmohan Singh and Pranab Mukherjee. What will be going through their minds? They will turn the clock back 20 years and what did we promise the nation? They will also look forward and say how many more years in active politics do we have? How much more can we contribute? Can we be here 10 years from now, 15 years from now? And if we have a shorter period, therefore we have to have a legacy value to what we do today.
But do they have autonomy?
Indian politicians think like that? Which was the last?
Are you telling me, Swapan Dasgupta, that politicians don't think of legacy?
Indian politicians don't retire, they go feet first. That's a very important rule of thumb.
Are you saying politicians don't think of legacy?
No, they do not.
They do.
They do. Pranab Mukherjee thinks of legacy. Someone back me because I'm under full frontal attack from Swapan Dasgupta.
Think of a legacy, they think of a will. And the will is normally generated.
Let me say this.
No, they think of a legacy.
I cannot.
Former finance minister,
on a lighter note, I cannot bear. I cannot withstand the full force of a full frontal Swapan Dasgupta attack on
Former finance minister Chidambaram was a man who wanted to leave a legacy, but he had to go through with a 60,000 crore farm loan waiver.
I can tell you this. Listen, I can tell you this. Mrs. Thatcher was obsessed about her legacy. As was Tony Blair. Politicians are obsessed about legacy. And this is
wrong country.
This is Pranab Das' last parliament. This is his last parliament. This is his last parliament. He is not going to be in the next parliament. This is probably his last decent budget with some freedom to do something, and he would want to make an impact because he is one person, more than a prime minister, who can take on Sonia Gandhi and get away with it.
I'm not too sure. I think Pranab Mukherjee recognizes the problems, but this analogy we're trying to draw between 91, between Manmohan was finance minister and Rao supported him, and so Manmohan must support Pranab, is completely sort of dubious and inexact. Because instead of Rao, you actually have Sonia Gandhi now, and if she is not pro-reform, and there's no indication she is, then forget it, it's not happening.
On Monday at 3:15 p.m., Rajiv Shukla made a call to Mulayam Singh Yadav. There was another very senior Congress leader with him in the room. The conversation lasted about 15 minutes, a pleasant conversation. Why would that call have happened?
We weren't discussing economic reforms.
No, they weren't, but they was creating a situation. Obviously, I'm just trying to put two and two together, saying today the Mulayam Singh Yadav is a person who will give a lot of elbow room to this government on all contentious reforms. Am I right, Surajit?
But he'll also want his elbow.
So he'll buy. So if you have Mulayam Singh Yadav on your side,
But he would also want something in return.
yeah, he would, but it would not come in the way of economic reform, in the way Mamata Banerjee's.
Or no, but I'd like to differ there, because the biggest reform at the moment that you need to take is probably the deregulation of diesel prices. That's costing your subsidy burden about 60 to 70,000 crore every year.
Will they decontrol diesel?
But will Mulayam Singh Yadav back you on that one? That's the important one. The answer is no, because that's politics. No political party will back you on that.
The fatal flaw is that you assume that the allies are causing the problem. Of course, Mamata is causing the problem, but Mamata is not the primary constraint. The question is that Sonia Gandhi wants the reforms to happen. I'm hopeful that I wish there will be reform, but keep in mind, don't blame the allies for anything. Everything begins with the Congress party, everything ends with the Congress party.
That doesn't stop
keep that clear.
I think without necessarily denigrating the individual, it speaks volumes for the quality of political management of the Congress that if Rajiv Shukla is to make the call to Mulayam Singh Yadav, the relative weight of that phone call.
No, he's a parliamentary affairs minister.
I know, he's a gentleman from Kanpur also, so he controls the UP Cricket Association.
Which is very important.
One important factor is that Sonia Gandhi said after the UP elections that price rise was the factor causing their defeat. She knows inflation is a problem, and if she wants to get inflation under control, she'll have to allow deficit to be under control, and that alone can get the Reserve Bank.
When did she say that? She said we lost because we have too many
No,
leaders.
she said that price rise. She said price rise. I read newspapers.
Arnab.
I read newspapers. She said price rise.
I mean, let's be fair to Congress President Sonia Gandhi. When is the last time that you actually heard about the finance minister and the prime minister actually going and discussing budget proposals with her? It's more what they think she expects from them than what she actually tells them to
Plus, how do you
deliver.
control inflation? By putting in a food security bill which gives you wheat and rice at 2 rupees a kilo.
Promises to give it to you forever. Even if you're agricultural.
I think to some extent we go with what Swapan Das Gupta says, because
No way.
all FDI in retail does not need parliamentary approval.
Absolutely.
You know, these are the
executive order.
Where is the political opposition to FDI in retail coming from? But my question is, if Mamta Banerjee goes out and Mulayam Singh Yadav comes in, is he going to oppose FDI in retail?
The issue is bad timing by the government.
Yes.
I still think that if FDI in retail had not been introduced on the third day of Parliament session, being in session, if they had done it a month before, it would have gone through.
Third day of the Parliament was introduced to completely nullify 40 days of Yatra by Mr. Advani. That is the political...
Which was a non-event to begin with.
That is a political masterstroke in some sense. But the fact is here that what we are looking at, let me give you a different spin on it, which is that I'm not saying Mrs. Sonia Gandhi or the President of the Congress Party has become, would not go for their social reforms, etc. But they might well have recognized by now that given the decline in growth that you're talking about, those social sector spending is not anymore possible.
Exactly.
So therefore, let's prime up the pump again, which is the growth pump. And therefore, that is what is needed today in this budget. Now, this is why it is so therefore rational for even the NAC members not to oppose a growth-oriented budget at this point of time. Just the last thing, which is that Mulayam Singh Yadav will not. I don't think the diesel subsidy will be removed this time. But given what the economic survey has said, Mulayam Singh Yadav can be convinced that diesel consumption by farmers is a negligible part of total consumption. So if the subsidy goes, yes, it is.
Can he be convinced?
I think so.
Symbolic value to these things.
But I think so, because you see, the fact is that all farmers have switched to electric generation, pump set, because electricity is free. Nobody wants to pay diesel. So therefore, diesel subsidy removal is not so difficult, as it's made out to be. I think, therefore, for those two reasons, you will find this time that Pranab Mukherjee would go in for more than what we expect him to do, given the sort of record so far.
Well, those pictures on the screen, which appear to be fairly chaotic pictures, are actually pictures of a very quiet residence of Pranab Mukherjee, where he's going to emerge from behind the gate out there, and he's going to leave. The finance minister is always the most photographed man. Pranab Mukherjee doesn't like being photographed.